Okay, let's get started. I still have people joining us, but thank you everybody for giving us some time this evening. I'm going to ask you to mute yourselves if you haven't already. If you have not ever joined a Zoom call, which might be impossible, if you put and you hover your cursor in the top right corner, there's a speaker view, and you'll be able to see the person who will be speaking at that time. And then I ask that you please mute your microphones so as to not have any interference with anyone who's speaking at the time. So again, my name is Mia Walsh, and I am president of PCA Potomac. I am very, very happy to have you here as we are going to go through some of our processes for our DE program that are a little bit different because of COVID. And since we won't be able to gather in person, we felt that it was important for us to share these with you in advance. So I appreciate you giving us your time this evening. And you're going to be hearing from some of our leadership in the DE program. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the volunteers on the DE committee. That's our chief instructors, our DE chairs, our registrars, tech, grid, all of our instructors who have volunteered to take students this event. We are one of the very, very first PCA events to have students. We had to take a lot of precautions and steps for protocol in order to get insurance for this event from PCA. And we did have about 65 to 70% of our instructors who were willing to get into a car with a student. So I'd like to personally thank those instructors for being available to our students. Our DE program is a driver's education program, and without the students, it's not the same. We held our first event last weekend at Pit Race. It was a solo driver only event, and the paddock was very much missing our green and blue students. So we're thrilled to be able to welcome you to this event. As part of the precaution, however, we did limit the number of our blue and green students. So we are not at track load for this event. And we wanted to do that primarily so we ensure that our protocol and our procedures that are going to be in place for students and instructors in the car at the same time run smoothly. And we didn't want to have a full track load of green and blue students to do that, because we were very much down to the wire whether we were going to accept students for this event. For those of you who were able to get into this event, again, I welcome you and I thank you for being our guinea pigs. Hopefully it'll be a wonderful experience. We worked really hard to make it so. Being social is a really big part of our driver's education program, as well as all of our other programs. And so it is saddening to me and to all of our chairs and leadership that the social aspects of this event are not what you're going to be if you've used to join us before. We aren't going to be able to hold the happy hours and dinners and things like that. And it is an upsetting call that we had to make, but we really felt like it was more important for us to get you in your cars and out on the track. Our motto is it's not just about the cars, it's the people too. This particular event, however, it's about the cars and the people is secondary. The socialization is definitely going to be a big lacking and missing of our event. And so just know that that's not normally the way we roll. But we will be back when COVID allows us to. We have put a very relaxed cancellation policy. So if you are feeling sick or if you have been exposed to somebody, please reach out to the registrars as soon as possible. Especially if you're an instructor, you've received a separate email about that. It's really important that we know in advance if we're not going to have an instructor, because we have had to take some special measures for our instructors for this event. The other thing that was changed, and it did upset a couple of people, is the amount of people that we're allowing on the track and in the paddock. And so again, that social aspect is something that we're going to be missing, and that is our family members and friends who want to come out and see all the cars and watch us on the track. We really had to limit the density of the people in the paddock. And again, this is a measure as part of getting our insurance with PCA that we really needed to monitor the density of people in the paddock. So I apologize if that put any strain on any relationships that you have, but I thank you all for abiding by that rule. I am just put a quick little presentation together. If you've read the agenda, we have several people speaking this evening. Everything that I'm going to be talking about, if it comes under the registration or tech inspection or grid protocols, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions directly to the people who are in charge of those areas. Okay, sorry, I was just reading some of the chats on the right-hand side. Somebody wasn't getting any audio. So I'm just going to share with you very quickly some of the things that we're doing here for the event. And let me just start the show. Again, you all are with me this evening and with all of our DE leadership to talk a little bit about the COVID protocols. We monitor every state where our track events are being located, and lo and behold, just today, the governor of West Virginia wrote a new executive order mandating face coverings indoors. So this was 12:30 today. I just wanted to reiterate that we will be putting signs up in any of our indoor locations, which would be the classrooms or the cafe there, the bathrooms, and that has been, it's going to be effective tomorrow at noon. And as I said, we did just go through an event at Pit Race, and we found that if you are walking around the paddock, to have your mask, because every 10 feet you're going to find somebody that you're going to want to talk to, and you need to be aware that people are expecting you to have a mask on when you're conversing. So have the mask on with you when you're walking around the paddock. And again, it's mandatory in bathrooms, classrooms, and the Chase Summit area. Some people may paddock next to their cars, and if you have a group with whom you paddock that have made a pact in advance that while you're sitting around your paddock area that you are okay with one another 6 feet apart outside without a mask on, that is your own decision, but you really need to speak to the people with whom you're seating. Do not assume that they are okay with it. And in that same genre, we did have some mask bullying a little bit at our Pit Race event for people making fun of people wearing masks, and that is not something that we would tolerate at all at in any of our events. So please make sure that your mask is available, and be the friend who chooses to wear their mask around others. So that's something that we really are pushing. If you cannot tolerate wearing a mask, you might consider staying home if possible. We have put instructor packages together with some PPEs, which includes KN95 masks, hand sanitizers, wipes, and gloves. So anyone who is instructing will be given these things to help protect yourself and your student. In some of the emails that have gone out, we are selling non-medical logo masks available. We will have those at the track, but you do need to buy them in advance by Wednesday. There's a slot in between the fabric where you can put a coffee filter or one of the white medical cloths in between as well. Something new we did not do at Pit Race, we will be doing temperature screening for instructors and students. And that will be done during the registration and tech process. We are going to have the students go through, as they have to go through tech every single day, they will get screened every single day. And what I'm going to ask is the instructors will also be screened on the first day, but they do not go through tech. I'd like for the student and the instructor to decide if you want the instructor to be screened every day. We'll have on Saturday and Sunday, we will have a little station where they can get screened in the morning before they go out. So that's something new that we did not have at Pit Race because we did not have students. Again, when you're going through Tech Line to get your temperature screened, you want your mask on. So you're just gonna kind of turn your body towards your window, and a masked person who has the infrared thermometer will have a face shield on as well as gloves and will take your temperature. Something that we also did to limit the number of contact and touch points is we put two menus together, either from Railside Market or Shea Summit, and you have to as well order those in advance by Wednesday. There are different things from which you may choose on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The boxed lunches will be delivered to the track, and there's an image here that shows where the sheds are. There's going to be a lunch pickup area, so you'll be able to pick up your own lunch, and they'll deliver them early enough before the lunch period that not everyone will be going at the same time. Shea Summit has not opened yet at all during this entire season, so they anticipate opening for our weekend event. So just to let you know that they haven't been open, but they do anticipate opening, and Railside as well is open. But again, if you've been to Railside before, it is packed in there. And so we are trying to give you an opportunity to buy a box lunch beforehand. As always, you can bring your own lunches and drinks. So that's something that you may do as well. We have hand sanitizer will be around at different points in the paddock that we will be putting out. And we do ask for you all to always consider the frequency of washing your hands as well as using your hand sanitizer. The next couple of slides I'm going to show are just regarding the student instructor pairings. And I will let them talk, the instructors talk a little bit about that when they come up in the agenda, but I just wanted to tell you what our protocol is going to be for those people. Helmets must be on and visors must be down prior to either the student or the instructor entering the car. So your helmets and visors must be on and down before you enter the student's car, and that's for both parties. You are not allowed to take your helmets off until you are outside of the car, and you do need to maintain a 6-foot distance once you exit your car. For the debriefing, when the students are speaking with the instructors, as soon as you get out of the car, you please put your mask on for the debriefing and ensure again that you're staying 6 feet apart during your discussion. And again, I'm going to reiterate that if you're talking with anyone that's outside of your immediate family, then I am requesting that you do wear a mask for any of these conversations. Instructors will be given some disinfectant wipes in their packages. Please talk to your students if that's something that they would like you to do, if they want you to wipe down the handles in your cars. I'm not sure that everybody's going to want a disinfectant wipe on their Porsches or other marked cars that are coming to the event, but I just wanted you to know that that's available. So that's a little bit about the COVID protocols that we've developed. I next on the list have our driver's education shares, so I will ask is it Bob or Susan, to take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. This is Bob Mulligan. I'm one of the chairs. Susan, I believe, is on there somewhere, but in a host of. Anyhow, there are two chairs, and I'll only take a minute to just say first, welcome. This is a little bit of not to say what Mia did. It's a little bit of an experiment, but we have enough experience from our last event that we think we'll be able to pull it off, really without a hitch. So with some cooperation from the fine groups that are all on this meeting. First, Mia she is very proud that I think we had almost 100% participation within a couple people that had something that severely kept them from coming tonight. But that is phenomenal from anybody that does meetings. We're at a 98% plus or something like that. My hat's off to you and everybody, because that's huge, and to the people that signed up. A little bit what Mia said, we are taking some precautions by limiting the number of people not only on the track, and we're trying to keep it to how much interaction. The number of people we chose, part of it is the number of people we can fit in a classroom. The reason being is we can fit 18 or 19 people in the classroom comfortably with the proper social distancing. That was kind of a magic number because we just can't have 100 meetings, but we want to make sure that students get their normal classroom experience where the chief instructors, they may touch base on this also, but they're going to go through every question that you might have on passing zones, blend lines, protocols, every single thing, the tech procedures, just every bit of it. If there are questions, the flags that Steve and Sean and Don do at every driver meeting, that will be afforded to us. That's one of the reasons we had to limit the number of people, to just try to make sure that can happen. Our meetings, I know you're going to hear more about that, but the meetings themselves, we're going to have one general meeting in the morning for all participants. Okay, we normally have an instructor meeting and a driver meeting. We're going to have one giant meeting over the PA system, which means please don't all get into 140 group pile. Spread out, stay anywhere that you can hear the PA. It's going to be a real important morning to just get everybody going, but it won't be real lengthy. It'll probably be about 30 minutes, I've been told. And that is a mandatory meeting for everybody. As there are questions, and before the green and blue go out, there will be a meeting for each, the green and the blue sessions, before they go out on track to get their specific questions answered. So there's two meetings before you go out, the general meeting and the classroom sessions that green will have their own and blue will have their own. So major importance on meetings, they're all mandatory. A third thing is Susan and I will be there all weekend, that if you can't find the CI, if you can't find tech, you can't find anybody, please don't hesitate to track down Bob or Susan. My trailer will be right across from the classroom. And you should not have any real problem finding us there. Last thing Mia just mentioned, the happy hours, unfortunately, will be limited, but that's not because we don't believe in them. It's because we tried to we just had to limit some things, and that's one of the things that went. So anyone that knows me, or in fact the entire group, social, but at pit rates we learned that it was possible to have some social interaction and stay within the program and all the protocols. Susan, do you have anything else you wanted to talk a little bit about hydrating and whatnot?
Yes, everybody can hear me. I had my audio off for a while, but just remember, for those not familiar with being at the track in the summer, that you're going to be outside for 3 days in the heat. So bring liquids, bring fluids, bring whatever you need to filter out of the sun, and just be aware that can be a risk. If somebody starts feeling poorly because of the heat, Bob should have his trailer up and running, hopefully with his air conditioner on. Other people may as well. But please don't let yourself get ill because of the heat. So just remember that. That's something that people that do not have experience being at the racetrack, in the summer need to be aware of is that, heat is not your friend when it comes to the racetrack. Somebody asked if it's long sleeves and long pants in the car. That's up to the chief instructors. They choose how to adjust things as the day progresses. Frequently in the morning, even on a hot day, it's fairly cool. So they usually always start with long pants and long sleeves. Please try to get cotton or something that might be other relatively flame retardant. And frequently, if it gets really hot, they'll start backing off of that, but there will be announcements about that.
Okay, a couple of questions that came through. One is, what time can people drop off trailers Thursday?
It'll be 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay.
6.
And what time, Jay, Friday morning?
No, the track, I think it's going to be earlier.
It might be 6 a.m.
I think it's at 6:30 is a comfortable time. I've never seen it open after 6:30, but
yeah, I agree.
And then Carl, you had a question. Will the classrooms be open to cool off? No. The classrooms are going to only be used for the classroom teaching sessions that we have. We will not be providing access to those other than that process. So no is the answer to that. Carl, find somebody with an air-conditioned trailer and buddy up to them.
And this is Bob again. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was just told people that you could, in fact, go into the classroom. So that brings what Susan just said way important if we have to lock those down. And that's done because we have to maintain control of the cleanliness of those spaces so we can use them for our classroom.
Thank you. And then John Houston, John, you're going to have to ask that question offline. The official answer is if you're allowed to stay in your trailer at the track at Summit. The official answer on that is, Jay?
Summit allows camping, yes.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Okay, so there's a couple. If Shea Summit is closed, will there be ice sails? We are waiting for, I don't think, Jay, we don't have an answer to that question yet, do we?
I'll text Edwin right now and find out.
Okay. As an instructor, can you wear a mask with a helmet instead of having the visor down? We actually did talk about that. And Susan, do you want to answer that one?
I don't see why not. The visor down just kind of turns you into having like a complete total, restriction of anything coming out of your mouth and throat going into the air. But if you can't wear a visor down and you want to put a mask on or a balaclava up over your mouth and nose, then that should work fine.
And
right.
I don't see why that should be anything different than what we're telling people to do anyway.
Yeah. So some people are very sensitive to the heat that generates when they don't normally drive with the visor down.
So, and then it's asked if that's going to work with the students as well. There are organizations that are saying if you have a mask over your nose and your mouth, your visor doesn't have to be all the way down. So I would suggest for the students and the instructors who are going to be paired together, we're going to put you in contact with each other before the event. That probably is going to happen today if it hasn't already happened. It already happened. You two need to discuss that with one another with what you're comfortable doing. But if you do have something over your nose and your mouth, that should be fine. But you two both need to discuss your comfort level on that. Pre-order box lunches from Railside. That was in the agenda, so you can just click on the end of the agenda. You'll see that link in there as well. That it looks like for right now, those are the questions that came in for our DE chairs. So we're going to move on to Laura Pierce, who is our track registrar.
Hi, everybody. I just want to thank you first and foremost for signing those speed waivers, which were the COVID waiver and the PCA normal waiver that you're used to signing. So you've done both of those and everybody has signed. So I thank you. Motorsport Reg did an amazing job getting that up to speed so that we could start using it, but it's still a pretty primitive system. So I have to track you manually. So I ask you for Porsche Fest and going on, the sooner you can do that, you make my life easier. So thank you. One thing I want to start with is the guest policy, or I should say perhaps that we do not have guests. Mia mentioned this at the beginning, but she asked me to go into it in a little bit more detail. And she said guests aren't permitted. The only thing that is permitted are people who are essential crew to you. And by that, I mean you need them to help you set up your car, do something with your car, and then only one per driver. And obviously volunteers such as Pat Counitz, who we couldn't do these events without, and other volunteers, Tim Kearns and such. So if you're going to volunteer, that's fine as well. But again, knowing for this event and going forward, understand that any crew or volunteers must register on MSR, meaning before registration closes. We need their contact information. So they have to be registered on MSR, and they also have to sign the speed waivers. This has been explained in at least 2 emails that have gone out. If you haven't read them, that may be why you don't know this policy. And you may not be aware that registration is now closed, which means you cannot bring anybody with you that is not already registered in MSR and has not already signed the speed waiver. And I'm seeing quite frequently people that just signed the speed waiver, maybe you sent that to them and think that's sufficient. It is not. So if you have some crew or volunteer that you were planning to bring with you and they're not registered, we're really sorry, but we just can't for numbers. We need to keep our numbers down. So I'm going to go over just a little bit of understanding of how registration is going to work at the event. This has obviously changed a great deal. We've worked hard to try to figure out how to make it contactless so that it's safe for the volunteers as well as all of you, as safe as it can be. So I'm going to give you an overview of how that's going to work. You all received my email, so hopefully you read it. But if you didn't, I'm going to try to give you just a basic rundown of that as quickly as I can. So just first understand for everybody, when you get in the car to go to tech or instructors, when you go to registration, you need to have 3 things with you. And this is not something you're necessarily used to. You need your tech form. You need your speed waiver credential. That thing you should have gotten on your phone in response to signing those waivers that has your name on it and your photograph. And as I mentioned in my email, if you can just take a screenshot of it that shows your name, and you'll understand in a little bit why I need to see your name. But that's probably the easiest thing to do, is to do that. Take a screenshot and have that ready and have that phone with you. And also a mask. Some of you may have windows up the entire time and never have to speak with someone, but there are going to be times where you are going to have to speak with somebody. So have your tech form, your speed waiver, and a mask with you before you start approaching these lines. You're going to also put your tech form under your windshield wipers. And I think Mark Salvador will talk a little bit more about how tech is going to work. But do that. So tech form under your windshield wipers, your speed waiver credential, and a mask with you, and get in the car. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the traffic flow and where we're going to do tech and registration. And there's a map that I sent around, and Mia, I think, has it in the PowerPoint if she can.
Yeah, I can pull it up.
Just because this is unusual. It's different than how we've done this in the past. So in essence, if you know Summit Point, we're basically going to put tech and registration in the grid, but we're going to push tech back at least just on Friday. So tech will be closer to turn 10, which means if you're not an instructor, you're going to be entering the tech line way back at the other end, not at the cut through where the gas pumps are, but rather at the far end, you're going to enter grid, actually tech there, all the way back there. And what you're going to do is you're going to put that waiver, I'm sorry, not the waiver, the tech form under your windshield wipers, and you're going to get to tech and you're going to drive through tech. Tech will do everything tech normally does. And then at that point, you're going to proceed forward into the registration lines. And there's going to be more than one tech line and more than one registration line, probably 2 each. But that's the basic general understanding of where everything is going to be. For green and blue students, because you have to do the temperature checks, we're going to have somebody right at the beginning of that tech line where you will, when you get up there, just start waving, literally just wave your hand out the window, get that person's attention so that they know they need to do a temperature check of you. Because not everybody in that line is a green or blue student, and they're not going to necessarily know whose temperature they need to check. So just wave at them and get their attention. and that'll be done there. For instructors and for crew or volunteers, because you don't need to go through tech, what we've done is we're going to have you enter in a line right there in the middle of grid, where a lot of people generally enter grid to go out on track, right by the gas pumps. You're going to similarly already have peer tech. So you're going to have your tech form completely filled out under your windshield wipers. You're going to have your speed waiver, and you're going to have your mask. And because not every instructor is necessarily instructing this event, we'll need those instructors who are instructing to, again, similarly to the students, just wave at the person doing the temperature check so that they know they need to check you. What's going to happen at that point is sort of a traffic jam, and we have Ron Tilton, who has agreed to direct traffic. So I ask everybody to really be careful there and pay attention to Ron. Accidents happen in grid in this kind of situation too frequently, so we need to be really cautious. Drive very slowly, be very aware of what's going on there, because there will be some people that will actually be exiting tech and won't have to go through registration. Just as an example, somebody may be teching a volunteer's car for them after they've already gone through tech and registration themselves. So there'll be some cars exiting there. There will be instructors and instructors and crew entering there. So be aware as you're driving forward to be very careful. When you actually get into the registration lines, there will be 2 lines, and there will be 2 people, me and Colleen, who are going to actually be checking you in. And we have 2 volunteers on the other side of your car as well. So when you go up into your lane, what you're going to do is you're going to see Colleen or me with your windows up, and you're going to place your speed waiver credential, that photograph probably that's in your photos, up against the driver's side window. And you're just going to leave it there for, a minute or probably less, just so that we can see your name and check your photograph. So you understand what we're doing. We are then looking you up in Motorsport Reg and checking you in through that process, which is why we need to see your name. If for some reason your name doesn't come up, you may need to put down your windshield, and we'll just give you the signal, much like they do on track, to wind down your window. And at that point, be sure to have your mask on, as we're interacting with you at a fairly close level. And we just want to be able to see your name. We will check you off in Motorsport Reg, and we will also be able to tell whether you're a guest, crew, or whether you're in what run group. At that point, we'll let the other volunteer on the other side of your car know what color wristband they need to give you, and they will just take out a wristband that are in envelopes, and they will place it under your windshield wipers. And that's it. We are no longer checking driver's licenses. There will not be colored dots for run groups. You're done. So proceed out, and again, be careful because of the traffic issues there. We did this at Pit Race a little bit differently in terms of the lines, but it went pretty quickly. I know people are probably fearful that these are going to be long lines. We hope not. If everybody's prepared and has what they need and has that speed waiver ready to go, it's actually very quick going through registration. So be prepared, help us go fast with this, again, in terms of the process, not the speed of the cars. And we should be able to do this pretty quickly and have everyone done. So that's it.
Laura, for a crew member, does the crew member need to go through the registration line?
Oh, good point. Yes. Any crew or volunteers need to enter with the instructor line on Friday morning. If you are paired up, a family member, and you want to go in the passenger seat, that's fine. It's a little bit easier if there's a back seat and you're on the driver's side. It's just easier the way we have the lines. But we can accommodate that if there's 2 people in a car. Just give us a minute, because we have to check in 1 person at a time. But yes, it's the same process. Instructors, be aware too that you can use a tow vehicle if your car is not something you want to drive through registration, and same with crew or volunteers. If you just want to grab a car, whatever, and just drive through, yes, we ask that you do that as well.
Are we checking helmets in tech? I know your registration. Should I wait till the tech question?
Probably ask Mark. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for registration for Laura? Keep them coming in the chats. Thank you. That's very helpful. We will just talk about instructor bags and student purchases will also be done at the temperature check station. So every instructor will get your goodie bag with your KN95 masks and your hand sanitizers and your wipes. And for the students who purchased masks or things along those lines, they will also be day one only at the temperature check station. So that is that. I know. A lot of planning, Laura. Thank you so much.
Is it okay to ask a question, Mia?
Of course, please.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for organizing the whole thing and this. A question for Lara. I remember reading something about when you go through the line as an instructor, being towed, your vehicle could be towed by another vehicle. Did I read that wrong?
No, I just meant that if you have a car that doesn't have windows, your sports car, and it's easier for you to use your truck, feel free to come through registration in your tow vehicle.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I would now ask Mark Salvador, who is in charge of our tech, to go through your process, if you would be so kind.
Great. Thanks, Mia. So in general, the tech process remains the same as we've done it before with a few changes. So in general, if you are not an instructor, you will tech every day and go through that line. And if you are an instructor, on Friday morning, you'll enter in that yellow line and go through registration. So just a few reminders for both groups. For non-instructors, remember, before you get into the tech line, clean out all of the loose items from your car. Make sure you've got 4 numbers on your car, front, back, left, and right. Make sure your form is filled out correctly and also signed by you. That's on page 2. We'll do the standard tech process. If your helmet hasn't been inspected before or if there's any question, show it to us through your window and we'll take a look at it and give you the thumbs up if it's okay, or talk to you if it's not. Now, for non-instructors, you will get a sticker every day that you go through tech. So on the first day, you'll get a sticker for the event, and then on Saturday, you'll get a sticker, and on Sunday, you'll get a sticker. If there is any threat of rain, you can place those stickers in the inside of the car, pointing out the windshield. So you can tape it to the inside of the windshield, or you can tape it to a visor or onto the dashboard. Just make sure it's in a spot that is easily visible by the grid crew when they check your car coming up. For instructors, you will peer tech as usual. So before you get into the registration line, peer tech, have the person that does your peer tech either fill out that portion of the form, or if you'd rather, you can fill out that portion of the form and then write down who the person was that did your peer tech. You'll take that form to the registration line. There will be a point in the registration line that they will collect your tech form, which should be under your windshield wiper on your windshield, and they will hand you a inspection sticker for instructors. And again, for instructors, you will get 1 inspection sticker. That will be on Friday, the first day, and then you will do peer tech on your own the following days, but you will not get another sticker. And I think that's it for all the reminders that I've got for folks. Otherwise, like I said, the general process is the same. We're still handing out stickers, but please, we are practicing social distancing, so keep your windows up, and we'll try to limit the contact as much as possible. If there's any issue with your vehicle as you come through the tech line, we will point you to either exit the line, or if you can go through registration, go that way. But we'll make sure that you can exit the line if needed. And that's all I've got.
One question that popped up was tow hooks. We need tow hooks. Everybody needs tow hooks, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me add one more thing. If you're unable to make tech during the regular tech hours or require some other inspection outside of the tech that we do each morning, we typically require a donation to the charity that we're sponsoring that weekend. So just a heads up that there's a minor fee that goes to the charity if somebody needs to find one of us tech folks to help you out, help you tech your car after the morning session's over.
And the one more question is for days 2 and 3, non-instructors or people who are in black or white or red that are not instructors go through tech every day. Are they entering at the purple line or are they entering at the mid grid?
So on Saturday and Sunday, we will tech in the normal place, meaning the tech inspection will happen on on the front half of the grid where registration is occurring on Friday. So,
okay.
So we'll simply just move up the grid, and that's where we'll conduct tech Saturday and Sunday morning.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mark, very much. Moving on, and we're almost at the end, guys. So thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. We've got Pat Kaunitz, who is in charge of grid. So Pat.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mia. So for those of you that have driven with Potomac before, these are changes. For those of you that are new to Potomac, you're probably not even going to know that anything is changing or different. The biggest change we're making on grid is that we will be checking you before you actually grid up. So as you enter grid, either at the top of grid at the turn 10 entry or at the midpoint entry, once you are down to that midpoint, we'll be checking there and then you'll proceed forward. You must be fully ready to go onto track once you hit that point. But like Mia said, when you get in your car, you're already going to have your helmet on, your visor down, or your mask on, and you should be fully geared up, okay? So all that checking is going to happen as soon as you enter grid, okay? I put together a couple of slides just to show you because my team will want to maintain a certain amount of distance from you. We're not going to be bending down into cars, so I need a little help from you to keep my folks safe. So if you go through these 4 simple steps, we of course will eyeball your tech sticker, and then I want you to show me your wristband, and step 2 is you show me your harnesses, and then step 3 is you show me your chin strap is fastened, and then step 4 is if you have a head and neck restraint system, you will shake your head down to show me and show yourself, because it'll catch you, it'll do what it's supposed to do, that you have your head and neck restraint system engaged, okay? So if you do those 4 things, we can see that from a distance of, 6 feet away from your car. We will all be wearing masks when we're checking you, just to keep everybody safe. Now, for those of you that have driven with Potomac, you know that grid checking and volunteering grid tends to be it's a kind of a wonderful place where we get to be social. We've talked a lot about being social. We're actually not, we're trying not to congregate in that way, especially since we're in that position where we're having to wear masks and check people. So I've designated a few folks. I've asked them specifically to volunteer and sign up for a schedule. So as much as I would love to accept 20, 30 volunteers on grid, we're not going to be doing that this event. So unless I've contacted you directly, thank you. I don't need your help this time. Hopefully we will be back at it and being very social soon. That's it.
Thank you so much, Pat. So I'm going to ask our chief instructors to take over. Thank you.
Thanks, Mia. On behalf of Steve and Sean, thank you all for being on this call. It's great getting all the details out there. There's a lot going on at this event, so we appreciate you spending some time with us. We're really looking forward to a safe and fun event. All right, so let's go through some real brief things. The schedule we're working on, as we speak, we'll get it out to you in the next day or so. And please print it out and bring it with you. There'll be a lot of information on there, all the contact people as normal down at the bottom. And one of the things we're going to do for this event is something a little bit different. The listed on the schedule is going to be my cell phone number. So if you have a question or an issue, something that you want the chief instructors to deal with, please text it to my cell phone number. And we're going to ask you to put in your name, because we're not going to know your name unless you put your name on there, as well as your car number and where you're located if we have to come and see you. All right, so maybe that'll facilitate some communication. People are not going to want to be moving around the paddock as much, so we thought we would give that a try. For instructors and for students, the emails went out yesterday. You should all have those. If you don't, then please email Chief Instructor at PCAPotomac.org, and we can check into it for you.
Pardon me, Don.
Yeah.
Did the instructors get the student's name, or did the students get the instructor's name? There's a lot of students that are saying that they haven't received information.
Yeah, it should have been both. So it should have been both.
And it's your MSR email that you used, that you signed up with.
And it went out yesterday. So
sometimes the MSR goes into junk.
And this will actually come from driving evals, not from MSR. But yes, it could be in your junk email.
Yeah, so look in your spam or your junk or something. Again, if you check there and you don't see it, you email the chief instructor at PCAPotomac.org, and we will certainly check into it. Also, we're asking the instructors and the students to have a conversation ahead of the event where you're going to meet up. The instructor will do the 3-minute interview, which hopefully is a little bit longer than 3 minutes, since we have some time not being at the track to actually do that, and talk about how you're going to handle the communicators based on all the emails you've received. If you have a problem and can't figure out between the two of you how to deal with the communicator, sanitizing, whatever, if you don't have the same equipment, whatever, Mia has agreed to act as a go-between and try and figure out how we can handle that issue. So she will accept emails up until Wednesday, I believe, Mia, you said?
Yeah, because I have to pack things up. So we did buy some communicators for loaning in case a instructor doesn't have the chatterbox and a student wants his or her own private headset. We did offer headsets to be purchased. I do have some chatterbox for loan if you are an instructor whose student wants his or her own new in a box communicator. But again, just my email is president@pcapotomac.org. Once the student and the instructor speak to one another